Hey everyone, welcome to today's video. Today's video is going to be one of the most difficult that I have ever filmed. We are doing an eyeshadow palette declutter. So the goal is to go from 64 eyeshadow palettes, which I've been collecting makeup for a really long time, okay? Don't judge me. But we're gonna try to go from 64 eyeshadow palettes to 20. A couple of administrative things. So the first thing is that none of these eyeshadow palettes are quads. I think I'm gonna have to do a separate video for that because I have a feeling this video is already going to be quite long. And then the other thing is that we are not throwing away any eyeshadow palettes. I actually did quite a bit of research. I've been calling a bunch of women's shelters from this, from around where I live. Usually they do take donations for gently used eyeshadow palettes or gently used makeup, but during COVID, they've really kind of shut down all of their donations. I did, however, find another organization. They are called Project Beauty Share. They're based out of Washington, where you can still send all of your gently used makeup if you would like to donate some of those products. So anything that I'm not keeping today will be donated to them, unless you are a friend or a family member who is watching this video, and if you see something that I declutter that you would like to have in your collection, please feel free to hit me up, let me know, and I will save it for you. However, everything else will be sanitized completely and then sent over to Project Beauty Share. So I'll also link their website down below so that if you want to check out their organization and donate to them, you absolutely can. Let's go ahead and get started on this okay, let's get started on this painful process. Here we go. The very first palette we're talking about is the Huda Beauty Rose Quartz palette. I just bought this last winter. It's still winter. I don't know why I said last winter. I bought this at the end of last year. We're probably going to have a lot of commentary from G Brown in this video, by the way. I am asking him to keep me as honest as possible as I declutter, so I'm keeping this palette. I absolutely love all of the different shades. Huda Beauty makes amazing eyeshadow palettes. The glitters in here are good, the mattes are good, and this color story is honestly right up my alley. Super, super love it. The next set of palettes that I'm going to be talking about are from Dose of Colors. I'm gonna bargain with G Brown and say, like, okay, your typical eyeshadow palette usually has like 10 shades. These only have 5 and they're super easy to travel with. So can this count as one?
Okay.
Did you just give me an okay? Thank you. It's very nice of you. All right.
But you should call your purge of quads the Quad Father.
The Quad Father.
Or the Quad something.
Oh. Dose of Colors eyeshadows are absolutely amazing. I'm actually wearing Smoky Soiree on my eyes today. That's how I created this super, super smoky look. I really, really like their eyeshadows. In any shade that you get, whether it's a matte shade or a glitter shade or just a metallic shade, they're all absolutely stunning. Easy to blend out. Very, very fairly pigmented and even when you blend it. So I'm going to be keeping both of these. I also really like these for travel because they are so compact and easy to just stick in like a beauty bag and go on. I'm also going to be keeping the Dose of Colors Desi and Katie Friendcation palette. This is another palette that I love traveling with because you get all of your really, really beautiful neutrals and also a couple of other shades where you can amp up some of that creativity if you want to have a little bit more color. So going to be keeping this one also because it is limited edition. I can't purchase it anymore, so yeah, saving these.
Friendcation?
That's what they named it.
Is that the name of, it sounds like a Mary-Kate and Ashley movie.
Oh my goodness. The next palette is the Estee Lauder Goddess Glow palette. This is actually really, really beautiful for a neutral palette. People never talk about Estee Lauder because I feel like she's it's like an older brand, but their eyeshadows are solid. These are very, very easy to blend out. They're super, super beautiful. The only thing I would say though is just that I don't find myself reaching for this palette because it is so neutral, but also on the lighter side. So if you are someone that is more on the fairer skin side, this might be a really, really great palette for you. I do believe it was limited edition, so if you're one of my friends or family and you're interested in something like this, hit me up, I guess. My first no. The next palette is from The Balm. This is the Meat Matte Nude Eyeshadow palette. Are you laughing?
Meat Matte?
Yeah, it's because it's matte shades. Like it's a play on matte.
I thought it was M-E-A-T.
No, no, what?
Exactly. I was very confused.
Oh my gosh. No, so like it's all like names. So it's like Matt Johnson, Matt Rosen. I just never reach for this eyeshadow palette. It's actually quite beautiful, but I'm not going to keep it because anything that I'm not reaching for on a regular basis, I feel like kind of needs to go. The Balm does have really, really nice eyeshadow palettes, so I would highly recommend checking them out if you are looking for an eyeshadow palette that's kind of more in the between high-end and drugstore price range. Ooh, my two Vive palettes. So these are relatively new to my collection. The Muse palette is definitely on the newer side. Yeah, I'm keeping these. They blend so well. They're so easy to work with. I'm a huge fan of Jamie Genevieve. I just think she's doing an awesome job with her brand. And so the other thing too is that I also really like these for travel because of the giant ass mirror that's in this. It's just super helpful. Don't mind the fact that that was looking a little bit fingerprinty. Anyway, let's move to the Becca palette. So this is their Pearl Glow Shimmering Eye Palette. Oh boy. So Becca is now a defunct brand. They have gone away. They don't exist anymore. I really liked this palette because when this came out, you can see how it's actually quite cool toned. When this palette came out, it was all about the warm toned eyeshadow palettes in the market. Like there was just no awesome cool toned palettes, and so when they came out with this over the holidays, I forget which year it was, I snapped this up because I was like, I'm all about the cool tones, and someone is finally paying attention to people who like cool toned eyeshadows. Oh, I have a hard time getting rid of this. They also have these gorgeous glitter shades in here. Like, oh, it's so pretty. I'm gonna say that this is I'm going to put this in the maybe pile. I feel like I'm going to have yeses, maybes, and nos. And the maybes are ones that I'm just going to have to revisit and like get real cutthroat about it. But I'm going to put this in the maybe pile. Ooh, let's talk about the Too Faced Peach. Yeah. So first things first, I'm going to say no to the White Peach palette. This one I picked up on sale when the peach line was going away. And I just feel like these eyeshadows are not at the same level and performance as the rest of the Too Faced eyeshadows could be. Like if I just go ahead and swatch it, it seems very soft to the touch, but every once in a while when you're blending this out onto your skin, it just doesn't really pack too much of a punch. I feel like again with this eyeshadow palette, it would work really well for someone who is more fair skinned than I am, and so I don't find myself reaching for it, so it's gonna go in the no pile. And by no, I don't mean like no, like they're horrendous. I'm gonna donate it. The next one is the Just Peachy Mattes palette. I'm gonna put this in the maybe. I don't really have a completely matte eyeshadow palette that is this bright and beautiful. It's just really lovely. And it still smells like peaches. So I'm going to put this in the maybe. The same thing with the Sweet Peach palette. I actually think they did such an amazing job on the color story in this palette. I love that it goes through all of your like really neon pinks that are very peachy toned, but then it has your warm browns so you can create a lot of different looks. And then your deep purples to really kind of, I mean, I guess it's kind of like a, what?
Deep purple.
Deep purple?
Smoke on the water.
Smoke, what's that?
Jesus Christ.
Oh no. I didn't get one of your references.
Bum, bum, bum,
yeah. Sorry. We're filming at night. I'm tired. Oh no. I guess I don't really have a good excuse. But anyway, I do really like this eyeshadow palette. Yeah, we're gonna go with a maybe on this one, but probably leaning toward yes, keeping it. Let's talk about the Lancome Audacity in Paris palette. This palette is straight up garbage. And I say that in like the nicest way possible because, okay, this palette made me believe that Lancome couldn't do eyeshadows, but it's not true because their quad palettes are actually really nice. The formula in here though is just so bad. It's so patchy, so powdery, barely shows up with any pigmentation at all. Like even when you just swatch it, like, did you see that? There's straight up nothing. And I'm definitely one of those people where like, okay, sometimes palettes and powders don't swatch really well on the back of your hand, but this one also just doesn't work on your eyes. So this is a very easy one to be like, hard pass. The next palette is also from The Balm. This is the What's the Tea Hot Tea Eyeshadow Palette. Friggin' love their names. It's so funny. Okay, this one is tough for me to part ways with because I do think that it is actually quite innovative. So it does come with two primers here. One of them is a black tone and then we have a tan tone. And so what happens is when you use this on your eyes and you put the eyeshadows on top of it, it changes the color. The reason why I find this really, really hard to get rid of though is because of this shade Tell All. So I'm gonna go ahead and swatch this for you really quick so you can see exactly why it's hard for me to get rid of. Do you see that sort of duochrome effect? Honestly, I don't think I have something like this in any of my other eyeshadow palettes, so it's just, it's hard to part ways with. And I know it seems ridiculous to keep an eyeshadow palette because of one shade, but the rest of the eyeshadows in here are actually pretty good too. So we're gonna put this in the maybe pile. This is the Morphe Jaclyn Hill palette. It's not like the big Morphe palette that she came out with. This is from her Vault collection. I'm not a huge fan of Morphe or, are you okay? Oh, that's pretty good timing actually, because I was gonna say that I'm not a huge fan of Morphe or Jaclyn Hill, but I do really, really like the shades in here. I think she did a really, really nice job curating a lovely, more on that purpley mauve-y tone. This shade here, Ballsy, is super, super beautiful. I don't find myself reaching for this palette as much as I should, but I do like it, so I'm going to keep this in the maybe pile as well. This is the Revealed palette, Revealed number 2 palette by Coastal Scents. I think you can find some drugstore priced eyeshadow palettes that are, you know, a little bit better than this. When this came out, it was pretty good, but I would say that the standards have now really gone up over time for drugstore palettes, and so this one just no longer really cuts it for me, and I never reach for it, so it's going in the donate pile. All right, next we have the Charlotte Tilbury Starry Eyes to Hypnotize palette. I actually got this from a friend. I really like this palette, and the reason being is that it literally has every single like color story that you could possibly need. So it has your gorgeous, you know, smoky tones, the gray smoky tones. It has olive shades for if you want to do like more of an autumny fall look. It has your pink tones, and then it has your gold tones. And so this is just a really, really helpful eyeshadow palette to have on hand. Plus Charlotte Tilbury's eyeshadows are legendary. They're super, super good. So I'm going to keep this, especially because it was a gift from a friend. Thank you, by the way. The next one we're going to talk about are the Nabla palettes. I have 3 of them here. I have the Side by Side palette, the Dreamy palette, and also the Secret palette. The first one that I'm going to very easily say donate to is the Secret palette. And the only reason is because...
It's not a secret anymore?
What? No. The only reason is because I don't find myself reaching for this palette. When I do my eyeshadow, I tend to think of like the best eyeshadows or the best eyeshadow palettes are the ones that I'm actively like just like in the back of my head, like constantly like, oh yeah, I'm gonna use this palette. That never seems to happen with this eyeshadow palette, and so I feel like it can find a better home than I have given it so far. The Nabla Dreamy palette, besides the adorable packaging with the stars and the constellations, actually was a gift from a friend as well who knows me very, very well. She knows that these are the shades that I wear all the time, so we'll be keeping this one. The Side by Side Nude palette, it's such a lovely neutrals palette, and it works really, really well. Maybe.
There's too many maybes.
I know. I know. We have 2 Milani palettes. This is the Gilded Nude and also the Gilded Pastel. The Gilded Nude I'm going to put in my maybe pile only because it has really, really good memories and the quality of it is pretty good. But I did use this for the video that I filmed with my sister where she chooses all of my drugstore makeup. Eyeshadow wise, this is actually pretty good. Milani is definitely one of the top brands at the drugstore, hands down. Their eyeshadow palettes are super, super good. And then we have the Gilded Pastel palette. This is also a really, really lovely palette. The only problem is that I think this is very similar to the Huda Beauty Mercury Retrograde palette.
It's called Mercury and Retrograde?
Yes. Stop choking on your beer. Let me get through my video. Oh, actually, no, it's right here. It's right here. Wait, hang on. Here it is. Ta-da! Okay, so there are a lot of similarities in these two palettes. Just in terms of eyeshadows, I would rather keep Huda Beauty eyeshadows over the Milani one just because this is really lovely. So I'm going to go ahead and put this in the yes pile, and then I'm going to donate the Milani Gilded Pastel palette only because I have duplicates, so. And then we have my 3 Pat McGrath Mothership palettes. So I have Mothership 5, 7 in, no wait, no, 8 in Divine Rose 2, and then, oh, I think this one is 7, Divine Rose. If you have not checked out Pat McGrath's eyeshadows, I would highly recommend checking them out. They are super, super pigmented. They are a little bit more difficult to work with than your standard eyeshadow formula, so it does take a little bit of time to work with them, but there's nothing quite like them on the market. Just in terms of the colors that she's put together, the color stories, she has quite a few duochromes that are absolutely stunning. For example, I mean, come on, this is just, it's beautiful. It's a work of art, really. I mean, check out this duochrome shade, right? Like, I mean, I barely touched the eyeshadow, and
wait, is that green and pink?
Yeah, isn't it cool?
How does that work?
Exactly. So, all right. So I'm keeping the Pat McGrath palettes because they're amazing. The next palette that we are going to be talking about is the Hip Dot palette. This is the Witchy Warms palette. I actually really, really like this eyeshadow palette. It's gorgeous for if you want to create fall toned, like smoky eyes. It's really, really good. All right. We have the KKW Beauty Camo palette.
Ooh, tricky.
Tricky. You know how much I like this palette. We're gonna go maybe on this one. I don't really have another eyeshadow palette that has so many olive tones in it, which I really, really like. So we're gonna give it a maybe, but leaning a lot towards yes. This one is an easier one to kind of part ways with. It is super, super cute. This is the Wet n Wild Cotton Candy Clouds palette. I actually think that for an eyeshadow palette, these are really, it's not bad. The matte shades are really pretty good. It's just that the glitters in here are like kind of garbage. So, it's super cute though, but I don't think I'm going to reach for it. You're like shaking your head. Oh my god, okay. All right. Okay, we're putting it in the donate pile. Okay, the Urban Decay Naked 3 palette. I have all of the Naked palettes here. Maybe we should just talk about all of them all at once. We have so many Urban Decay Naked palettes. These are legendary. A lot of people really don't like the Urban Decay Naked formula, but I really, really like these. Okay, so let me talk about the ones that I am definitely keeping because they are discontinued. So Naked 2, which is actually the first eyeshadow palette that I ever purchased.
What?
Yes. Actually, no, I didn't purchase it. My sister bought it for me. This was a birthday gift years ago. But look at how beautiful all of these shades are. It's a cool toned dream come true, so we're going to be saving this one. Same thing with the Naked 3. It's those pink shades that I absolutely love. Going to be saving this as well. This also has really, really nice memories tied to it because I used it for my sister's wedding, so keeping that one. Ooh, now we have, oh man. Okay, so we have these are also discontinued, I believe, except for maybe the Urban Decay Heat palette is not. I'm not going to keep this. I don't, oh, actually, this is kind of similar to the Hip Dot palette. My goodness, that's like the same. I'm going to make a game time decision between the 2 of these. So this is going to go into the maybe pile. The Urban Decay Smoky palette, dude, I never reach for this. And it's kind of similar to the Naked 2, so I'm going to go with donate on this one. And then we have the Urban Decay Cherry palette. Oh god, looking at all of these pink tones.
It's not really you.
What do you mean it's not really me? I love pink.
Oh.
Well, I mean, no,
pink.
I hate pink. That's right. I don't like pink clothing. Love pink makeup. It's kind of confusing. I'll give you that. I'm gonna go with maybe. This maybe pile is getting really, really big. Okay, next we are slowly getting through this, so this is good.
Are we?
I know. Shh. Kylie Jenner's pressed powder palette from her. Is there even a name on this?
Pin up.
No. It's from when she released her nautical themed entire thing. I actually really, really like this palette. Here's the thing about Kylie Jenner's eyeshadows. They're pretty good. You can say whatever you want about the Kardashians, blah, 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 but Some of their eyeshadow palettes are just, they're good. So I'm going to put this in the maybe pile as well. Physicians Formula, this is the Rosé All Play Eyeshadow Bouquet palette. That's what it's called. There's a lot of rhyming. The shimmer shades in here are just so bad that it's pretty easy for me to kind of just say, it's all right, but not great. So yeah, parting ways with that one. This is the Narcissist Wanted palette. This is a limited edition palette. You can't get this anymore, and it's absolutely beautiful. Has amazing pigmentation, very easy to blend out. Reach for it all the time when I just want a simple and fast eyeshadow look. I don't know what happened there. Anyway, but yeah, we're gonna be keeping this.
Narcissist.
Yes, I should probably tally. How many am I at right now? Okay, you guys, I'm gonna be totally honest. We are not trending in a good direction because in my yes pile, I already have like 14 eyeshadow palettes. We're gonna have to do some hardcore bargaining. Just letting you know. The next palette, so this is actually an interesting one. These are singles that I got from Ipsy, and so what I think I'm going to do is I don't reach for any of these. These have clearly never been used before. But what I think I'm going to do is I'm going to remove all of the singles here and then keep this palette as like a Z palette to just have extra storage for any time I depot eyeshadows. Ooh, this is really, really old. This is the Wet n Wild Petal Pusher palette. There are better eyeshadows now. This is really, really old when I first got into makeup, so this is one that I'm probably actually just gonna throw away because I think it's expired. Next, we have the Balm Nude Tude palette. I really, really liked this palette. It was a solid one. The problem is just that I think that I can dupe all of these shades at this point, and I don't really find myself reaching for this palette either, so we're going to say goodbye to it. It has been very, very well loved though. Next, we have the Lorac Pro palette.
Lorac.
This, I believe, is their first one. I think they came out with like several of these. I actually struggle a lot with this formula, and I don't know why. I just feel like it's one of those palettes where once you lay down the color, it's really hard to blend it out and get it to blend nicely. If you're into like cut creases and that kind of a hardcore look, then this might work really, really well for you, but I never reach for it just because I find myself struggling with it, so it's gonna be a pass for me. Oh my gosh, the Urban Decay Stoned Vibes palette. I never reach for this. We're just gonna, there's not much else to say, right? If I don't reach for it, like, it's gotta go. This is the Lorac Gold palette. This one actually is a really, really good formula. I really, really like this eyeshadow compared to the Pro palette. This works way, way better. The only thing is, like, I haven't reached for it in a really long time, so also going to be in the no pile. Next, we have the Kylie Jenner Sipping Pretty palette. I actually got this for free from Ulta, and I mean, there's nothing wrong with it. I never use it, so. Oh, and I just stuck my finger in it, so that's lovely. Anyway, it is really nice though. I will say the couple of times that I have used it and reached for it, like, it's not a bad eyeshadow palette. Okay, so we have a slight problem. Now we have...
Now, when you can change all the rules. It's Mulan.
I know, but it's not even like... Oh.
Just keep it for the packaging. It doesn't take up that much space.
Wait, really?
Wait, why am I the...
Do you hear yourself? We have to make some deep cuts. The hair has gone up, so we're all about it.